Have you ever done something embarrassing and been convinced everyone noticed, only to realize days later that literally nobody remembers it happened? Or met someone supremely confident about something they clearly don't understand? Your brain is doing things behind the scenes that you are almost never aware of. And today we're breaking down 12 of the strangest, most well-documented findings in psychology. The kind of facts that make you rethink every argument you've ever lost, every impulse buy you've ever made, and every time you swore the universe was sending you a sign. Some of these are rock solid. One or two are currently being challenged by scientists as we speak, which honestly makes them even more interesting. Let's get into it. Let's start with a scenario. You're having a medical emergency on a crowded street. Logic says more witnesses should mean better odds someone helps you, right? In reality, it often works the opposite way. This is called the bystander effect. The more people who witness an emergency, the less likely any single person is to step in and help. The reasoning isn't that people don't care. It's that responsibility gets diffused across the group. Everyone assumes someone else is better positioned to act, or already calling for help, so the group ends up doing collectively less than a single person would do alone. This idea became famous after the 1964 murder of a woman named Kitty Genovese in New York City. Newspapers reported that 38 witnesses heard or saw the attack and did absolutely nothing, a number that shocked the country and helped birth an entire field of research into why people fail to help each other. Here's the twist though. That exact number was heavily exaggerated by the press at the time. Many of the so-called witnesses only heard fragments of the attack. Some didn't realize what was happening, and at least one person did try to get help. But, and this is important, the underlying psychological effect researchers went on to study is still real. It's been replicated in dozens of controlled experiments since. It's just smaller, messier, and more human than the horror story version everyone remembers. Next up, one you've absolutely encountered in real life. You know that one person who is loudly, confidently, aggressively wrong about something, and somehow the less they actually understand the topic, the more certain they seem to be. For decades, psychologists called this the Dunning-Kruger effect, and it became one of the most widely shared psychology concepts on the internet. Endless memes, endless think pieces, endless confident guys at parties explaining things they don't understand. Here's where it gets genuinely fascinating. A growing number of researchers now argue that the classic version of this effect might not actually be about human overconfidence at all. Some recent statistical analyses suggest it can appear even in completely random made-up data, meaning at least part of what looks like a psychological bias might actually be a mathematical side effect of how the original studies measured performance and self-assessment. The scientific debate on this is still actively ongoing, with researchers on both sides publishing new papers, which is honestly the most useful lesson buried in this whole video. Even the psychology facts you've heard cited 1,000 times deserve a second look before you fully believe them. Here's an unsettling one. Your brain is fully capable of confidently inventing entire explanations, justifications, or memories, and presenting them to you as fact, with zero disclaimer, zero self-doubt. This is called confabulation. It shows up in dramatic, well-documented ways in patients with certain types of brain damage, where people will produce detailed, coherent, completely false accounts of their own recent actions and genuinely believe every word. But smaller versions of this happen in healthy brains constantly, filling in gaps in memory with plausible-sounding fiction, smoothing over uncertainty so your internal story always feels complete, even when parts of it are quietly made up. Ever notice a song you weren't sure about starts sounding better the 10th time you hear it on the radio? That's the mere exposure effect. We tend to develop a preference for things purely because they're familiar to us, independent of the thing's actual qualities. This isn't limited to music. It applies to faces, brand logos, political messaging, even random shapes shown to people in lab experiments who'd never seen them before. Advertisers have leaned on this for decades. Repetition alone, even of a mediocre ad, makes people trust and like a product more, purely through familiarity. Now here's one that flips a common assumption. You'd think having more choices makes you happier. More flavors, more options, more freedom to pick exactly what you want. Research on decision-making suggests it can actually work against you. Give people too many options, and they become less likely to choose anything at all, and less satisfied with whatever they eventually do pick, compared to being given a smaller, curated set of choices. Ever stood in front of a wall of 30 different jams at the grocery store and walked away empty-handed? That's not you being indecisive. That's a well-documented cognitive traffic jam. Here's one you've almost certainly experienced without knowing the name for it. You learn a new word or hear about some obscure car model for the first time in your life, and suddenly you start noticing it constantly, everywhere you look. This is called the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon, sometimes known as the frequency illusion. Nothing has actually changed in the world around you. Your brain has simply started paying selective attention to something it was previously filtering out entirely. It feels like a coincidence, or even a sign. But really, it's just your brain's search function switching on for the first time. Placebo effects get referenced constantly, but the actual research goes way further than sugar pill makes you feel a little better. In some studies, researchers performed fake surgeries, making a real incision and then simply closing it back up without doing the actual procedure inside, and found patients reported real, measurable improvement, in some cases comparable to patients who got the genuine surgery. On the flip side, patients given a completely inert placebo pill have reported real side effects, nausea, dizziness, drowsiness, purely because they expected the pill to cause them. Your brain isn't just imagining feeling different. Expectation alone can trigger genuine, measurable physiological changes in the body. Here's a fun one, especially if you've ever put together flat-pack furniture. People consistently place a higher value on things they built themselves, even when the final product is objectively mediocre compared to something professionally made. This is called the IKEA effect. The effort and frustration you personally invested gets emotionally baked into how much you like the final result, completely separate from its actual quality. That wobbly shelf you assembled at 11 at night with the wrong screws. Research suggests you probably value it more than an identical, perfectly made one you didn't have to build yourself. Now, for one of the most famous psychology experiments of the 20th century. Researchers showed participants a simple picture, one reference line, and 3 comparison lines of different lengths. The correct match was completely obvious. Not a trick question at all. But when a participant was surrounded by a group of actors, all secretly working for the researchers, who confidently gave the same wrong answer out loud before the real participant's turn, something remarkable happened. Roughly a third of participants went along with the group's wrong answer at least once, despite the correct answer being plainly visible right in front of them the entire time. This experiment has been repeated many times, across different countries and decades, and the core finding holds up with striking consistency. Social pressure doesn't just make people say something they don't believe. In some cases, it can genuinely distort what people think they're saying. Here's one that hits close to home for anyone who's ever replayed an awkward moment in their head at 2 a.m. You trip in public, say something embarrassing, or show up in slightly the wrong outfit, and you're convinced every single person around you clocked it and is still thinking about it. This is called the spotlight effect, and the research is honestly kind of a relief. People consistently overestimate how much others notice and remember about them. In reality, everyone else is far too busy being the main character of their own internal spotlight to spend much time cataloging your minor mistakes. That thing you're still embarrassed about from 3 years ago. Statistically, almost nobody else remembers it happened at all. And finally, here's one that shapes way more of your daily judgment than you'd expect. If someone is attractive, or well-dressed, or simply likable in one specific way, we tend to unconsciously assume they're also more competent, more trustworthy, and more intelligent, even with zero actual evidence for any of that. This is called the halo effect, and it shows up everywhere from job interviews to courtroom trials to how teachers unconsciously grade student essays. One single positive trait creates a kind of glow that colors how we judge everything else about a person, whether that judgment is fair or not.
So here's the pattern connecting all 12 of these. Your brain is not a calm, neutral, purely logical machine quietly processing reality in real time. It's constantly taking shortcuts, filling in gaps, reacting to social pressure, and building a story that feels complete and confident, regardless of whether it's actually accurate. Most of what we covered today is extremely well documented and replicated across decades of research. A couple of these, especially the Dunning-Kruger effect, are being actively debated and re-examined by scientists right now. And that's honestly the most useful takeaway of the whole video. Even the psychology facts that feel like settled, obvious truth are still being questioned, tested, and refined. If one of these hit closer to home than you expected, let me know which one in the comments. I read every single one, and it genuinely shapes what I cover next. And if you want more of your own brain's weird hidden behavior exposed, hit subscribe, because we are just getting started. See you in the next one.